Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 2 of converting Blender tutorials into concept websites and Three.js projects. So second on this list is by Vertex Arcade, a very popular Blender YouTuber. I've got 2 demos using his sketch shader as a Three.js project. I have an open source repo. You can find a list of credits and links to all these demo websites and everything, as well as additional resources for people that have done it in the past. Okay, so let me show you the demos and then we'll get into some of the things that I learned working on these projects. And let's just go through here. So these are just concept demos, and they're not fully complete, but I just wanted to show, like, you can make some pretty cool stuff with, with just a simple, very, very simple sketch shader from Blender. And we'll talk about a little bit of the details a little bit later. You can find all the audio credits on the README if you want to. So it's like a sprite sheet, and it's like, you can see it's like a 2.5D, 2D mixed with 3D sort of thing. And there's just like some cheesy interactions here that I guess I found funny. Like spawning pizzas that you can drag around. I wanted to make him be able to like chomp on it. And then here you can like enter the moped with E and hold shift to run or dash like this. Same on the moped as well. And then you can like click and drag this and just bring it with you as you ride. And then here are just like the portfolio stuff that Claude one-shotted. I didn't give any design direction, whatever. I just said match the website, and it does look a little bit off compared to the website, but it's okay. And if you have an eye for design, you can probably tell it's not a project. Same with the other website UI, by the way. But yeah, let's talk about some of the details now. And let's get straight into it. So I'm going to do Alan's portfolio first, and what I just want to start showing off as the first tip and trick is using the Figma file. So you can do Control L. It's probably Command L on Mac to get the file link. If you just hover over there, paste it in here, and basically say export everything, import export over here, and import it into my empty Blender file over here. So let's go. Okay, so now that it's done and I go back in Blender, you can see that it has exported my image here as planes inside over here. Just now, you will notice it didn't export every single image in here, and the reason for that is because I ran out of Figma MCP calls because I'm on the free plan. So that's why it didn't get all of them, but you can see that it is in the same orientation as it is in my Figma file over here, which means technically, if you wanted to, you could probably set it up. You could probably set up your scene in in Figma like this, and then just export it like this, and it'll orient the same way there in Blender as well. I don't really view like a benefit of that. Like I feel like you could just like do it in Blender itself, but just something to note. Now, one thing I do realize is if you take a look at what the setup is here, I did explicitly say to use the Shift A mesh plane as import, but apparently it did not do that because this is a different setup than using mesh plane. And if you export this into the browser, into GLTF report just to see it, you can see that it's a little bit sus here. So here you can see I reprompted it again. So this is my third prompt now. I said, please update it. So it's just the image hooked up to Principal BSDF, blah, blah, blah. You can read that. But this is what, if you do mesh plane as image, if you have a transparent image, that's what this setup usually looks like, which is why I asked the AI to change that for all of them there. Now you can see when I upload it to the browser and export it from GLB, you can see that it works. Now you could just cut out the transparency in the code itself rather than preset it up in Blender, but you might as well just preset it up in Blender. You'll also notice that this is a group, and if you export it as a group, it will be a single image, but in Blender, you can see that there are individual ones. So I probably need to specify the export method, and I could also just prompt it to, check for groups and make sure that's one single image as well. But overall, it did a pretty good job. Now, instead of using Figma, you could probably do it with other like design software like Affinity MCP or Photoshop MCP or Krita, which I don't think Krita has an official one, but apparently there's some online. I've never tried it, but if you're a Krita user, maybe that's something you can try. So here you can see after I imported everything as meshes planes, I basically just used the method that I showed in previous videos, my asset reloader add-on. So I basically just set it up, and if I hit N and go into asset reloader over here, you can make your own custom one. I just export the entire collection and it auto updates in my scene. So if I come over here, you can see this right over there. And if I want to, I can, let's say, like move these trees up, and then I just use Shift E, and you can see it's going to auto reload this. Enter in silence, and you can see now all the trees are up there. So that's basically all that. And let me just undo that and just do Shift E. Now you can see it's just going to adjust that. And then the trees are back to where they used to be. Yeah, so everything else I covered in previous videos, you can see I gave a lot of my meshes names and IDs, so the AI can work with them a lot easier and identify them. But other than that, everything that you see in the website is literally just a prompt. For the other portfolio, I had 3 different scenes, and each of them lived in their own render target. It's okay if you don't know what that is. Basically, I had 3 different scenes, so I had 3 different collections for each scene. And there's nothing really important here other than like I just exported each scene as their own GLB file. But I did learn a new trick in Blender. I've been using Blender for years now on and off, but I just realized that you can actually create an entire new scene right over here rather than creating a collection for another scene. So for scene 2, I did have a curve. I do have a curve exporter, but I decided just to be lazy and have the LLM extracted from directly. For the other ones, I just asked it to create a path tool for me so I could like log it out directly in the browser. So if I go to this one and do hashtag debug, you can see I can come to path tool and I can like free up my camera and look around, and I can log my pose. It'll capture the rotation and location and create a curve and generate the curve based on the places I take. So I can do like capture pose and things like that. Log to my console, and then I can just like basically show path dots here. And you can see this is the one that I recently captured, so I can do it again, capture. You can see it's going to spawn right on my location just like that and get my orientation and everything as well and generate the curve. For the hatching method for this project, I basically used the Vertex Arcades RGB image texture, which is basically just a different pattern on each one. So you can watch this video here. There's a lot. This has been done for ages, but you have like 3 different black and white images or patterns, and you basically combine it. Like one red channel is one color, blue channel is another one, green's another one, and then you basically just switch your channels. So that's what this method was. And because the brightness values were a little bit different for each one, I had some adjustments for it. So again, the AI did this all for me, but you can basically just see in the code over here with TSL, I have the red channel, the green channel, the blue channel, and then adjust is just a custom function here that allows me to like tweak, how bright it is and its contrast value and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much it. And you can just see like time, tick, we just have some sort of speed that rotates between the RG and B channels. So that's pretty straightforward on that. Now, when it comes to this one over here, it doesn't use an image texture. It basically painted, I think, to a canvas 2D texture and then used that instead. So this one I can open source because I'm not using a paid add-on, but the logic is basically the same. You can see there's 3 different textures that it created for me in code that it just rotates between basically. So you can just think of it like that. You could use 3 separate image textures or like a sprite sheet. It doesn't have to be like RGB, but it's just that method because it's very common and it's well optimized. So here's a very popular website that uses this method. You can see that it was an inspiration for what I was doing. You can see like it basically, I don't know if this one uses RGB channels for their texture. I think they just have like one texture and distort the UV randomly and then mix in some noise so it doesn't look so uniform. But I don't actually know, but basically the idea is virtually the same here. You can use 3 different textures or RGBA or sprite sheet or whatever, or distort UVs and so on and so forth, or you can mix all of them. Now for the outline here, it's just an inverted hull, right? In Blender, that's basically where you have a solidify modifier, you flip the normals of the solidify modifier, and then you give it 2 materials, and then you do the material offset 1 or whatever the slot your materials in and use that. And then you come over here and do backface culling camera. And yeah, basically now you have that outline. It's basically just, solidify modifier sort of thing. So if you apply that, you can see that what it does is basically just, create a duplicate mesh that you look through because the normals are flipped. Yeah, and basically the code just takes those vertices and displaces them, basically. In regards to these other methods, technically I do know at least the logic of how they work. If you ask me to explain the math, I wouldn't know it whatsoever. So let me just give you like layman terms here. So both of these, A and B, are based on the UVs, which is why you can see that even though the shadow reacts to light, sometimes when the shadow is like pointing towards the light, it's still dark. And that's because it's based on UV. If you imagine you draw like on a 3D object and rotate the 3D object, Of course, the shadow or the darker area would still rotate with the object as well. So that's why that happens. Whereas object C and D, they use screen space coordinates rather than UV coordinates, which is why it kind of feels like an overlay in some sense. Like imagine you're like looking at your computer screen and you just like draw the crosshatch pattern across the whole thing, and then basically where those faces intersect with the screen UV is basically what you can see the hatch pattern there basically. And of course, there's some mathematical calculations with the lighting and whatnot. So that's basically the difference between A, B, and C and D for the cross hatching. At a very very high level. In terms of the outlines for these, they use like a lot more mathematical calculations, like the normals of the vertices that you choose, as well as the color difference between pixels. You can see, and also like the depth. So you can see like over here, this color is different from this color, which would suggest that that is an edge of an object. Of course, that's not always the case, because if the background is the same color as this over here, then maybe we wouldn't know to draw an edge there. So of course we check other things like normals and all that sort of fancy stuff. So that's kind of like the high level difference between, this one over here and the inverted hull, which is basically just the face duplicated. If you trust the AI to explain it to you, I did create this and I did not validate or even look at it, but basically it explains how these four work. Now, tips for 3D artists that want to recreate effects with AI from Blender. Definitely ask it to optimize over and over again. It's not going to give you the right optimization the first time, or even the second, third, fourth, or fifth time. I think I had to ask it to optimize like 3 or 4 times. And there was various issues every time it optimized until it finally got something passable. But I did not need any technical knowledge to do that. Also ask it to detect FPS, and if it starts frame lagging, auto adjust the quality. You can also have people choose their quality before they enter. You can do this before you enter or during or so on and so forth. There's pros and cons to everything, but this is just like something to consider. Of course, if you have MCP, well, you could technically use the CLI if you have like the file path and whatnot, but it's easier just to use MCP server and have your Blender file open that you want your AI agent or AI LM to read your node setup for clues. I did notice if you ask AI to recreate the effect first, like give some random screenshots and say like, I kind of want this effect and so on and so forth, and have it do its own method first, and then read your Blender node graphs, it generally does better because you can ask it to compare what you did with them. And like, I don't know how it works other than like, it seems to, because it has to like compare its method to the one in the Blender, it seems to parse it a lot better. Of course, it's still better when you like sort of guide the LM like piece by piece of your node setup. I still feel like that's the most effective method if you want to recreate an effect. But I did notice if you want to like take shortcuts, it's better to actually have it do its own method and then compare and contrast reading yours after, than just like straight up saying read the whole thing and then recreate it. Now, you've probably seen Gauntlet loops. If you don't know what that is, basically it's like a small prompt that just says like do this over and over again and critique yourself over and over again until you like get something good to the AI agent. That way you don't have to like keep reprompting itself. Now, this will work for a lot of simple scenes. You can basically just say, hey, do all the exporting, optimization, instancing, all that for me, and it'll like pass. Like, it'll be pretty good or decent depending on your scene, but it takes a lot of usage, so just be careful of that. I don't actually mean avoid, but just like really be careful about that. Of course, for more complicated scenes, it's still going to be bad or not fully accurate, so just be aware of that. Of course, you can also create your own Skills.md file as well. I'm gonna probably make mine soon and like release it. But basically, the idea is like, instead of like having the LM like read this noise texture and try and recreate the algorithm or like search for noise online, you can just basically say, every time you reach this noise texture node in Blender, just use the image texture that I give you. So instead of like calculating it, you can just like render an image, a texture of this noise node over here, this noise texture for you, and just say use this image instead. Obviously now there's going to be a few issues there, because every time you have a different one, a different like parameter here, like you'd have to render another image for the AI to use. And if you have like so many, it's going to be a little bit messy. But for the ones where it's like, I guess there are certain use cases where you can say, don't recreate the algorithm here, just like use the image texture that I render out for you instead, which is an optimization trick. So you can look it up. Like, this is like a very, very common way to optimize. In that Kaizen website earlier in the video, you can see a lot of the noises are WebPs over here. But that's something like things you could put in a Skills.md. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the video. I am open for freelance work if you are looking for help with Three.js or Blender or converting Blender scenes to Three.js. And with that being said, thanks so much for watching. Take care. And as always, peace out. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.